Monsters of the ice continent. Antarctica was considered a lifeless continent, inhabited only by penguins, but scientists from Antarctic research stations began to stumble upon terrible monsters there. Plasmasaurs. The most famous Antarctic monsters are plasmasauruses, creatures that are clots of plasma. However, scientists are desperately debating whether they can be classified as living creatures. The first to encounter plasmasaurs was the Soviet expedition that made its way to the South Pole in 1959. About 300 meters from the rover, a glowing ball jumped out of nowhere. Several minutes passed, and the ball slowly rolled toward the polar explorers, turning into something like a sausage. The expedition photographer, Greentext, walked forward with a camera in his hands. The sausage stretched out into a narrow ribbon, and a glowing halo appeared around the men. Greentext screamed and fell into the snow. The group leader, Andrei Skopelev, and the expedition doctor, Roman Kostov, fired several shots at the glowing ribbon. It swelled. Sparks flew out to the sides. The ribbon exploded and disappeared. The photographer was dead. The back of his head, palms, and back were charred. The researchers encountered glowing balls for the second time just 3 days later. They appeared at a height of about 100 meters and began to slowly move towards people along complex trajectories. After several shots were fired at them, the balls, leaving a smell of ozone in the air, disappeared completely. 2 more polar explorers were left lying dead in the snow, Kusov and Borisov. These were the first tragic encounters of scientists with the glowing balls, which were later called Plasmasaurus. Then there were several more. The last victim of the plasma creatures was a member of the French expedition of 1991, Jacques Valens. The answer to the question of who or what the scientists encountered on the ice continent was suggested by Russian scientist Boris Solomon. When the sun flares, streams of magnetic plasma formations, plasmasaurs, fly away from it at a speed of several hundred kilometers per second. Reaching the Earth, they remain in the ionosphere. The Earth's radiation belts are a real reserve for all kinds of plasmasaurs of solar and even galactic origin. They can descend to the Earth's surface in the areas of magnetic poles. Encounters with these formations led to the death of scientists on the ice continent. The monsters of Horowitz. The monsters that lived in Antarctica in the area of the Pole of Cold were dubbed Gorowitz's monsters by journalists. Polar explorer Isaac Gorowitz first encountered the monster that received his name in the summer of 1960. The scientists moved slowly, making frequent stops to conduct scientific observations. During one of them, the researchers missed magnetologist Stolpart. The tracks left by the scientist led to a crack. In the depths, on the ledge, a sprawled figure of a man could be discerned. Gorowitz descended into the crack. Held by ropes, he descended deeper and deeper into the darkness. Finally, he reached the ledge, where he was able to find only a fur glove and stains of frozen blood, and also distinct tracks, reminiscent of rats, but the size of wolves. At first, they went along the edge, then crossed to the steep wall and disappeared into the darkness. Meanwhile, the weather conditions worsened. The expedition, not having reached the Pole of Cold, was forced to return to the station. Snow and wind made the search for the missing person impossible. The winter that year was harsh. The temperature at the station dropped to 70 degrees, and the cold wind made it unbearable. Only 2 people went outside, and for the shortest time. But on July the 6th, Art Short and Kenneth Miller left and did not return. Only on the 3rd day, when the wind died down, the bodies of the missing scientists were found 1.5 miles from the station. More precisely, their clothes and flesh. The bones were gone. Something, having killed the people, devoured only the bones, leaving the rest as a frozen mass. Horowitz suggested that the dead polar explorers had discovered an unknown creature and, forgetting about caution, had moved away from the station. The weather had made the return impossible, and then, when they had died of the cold, the unknown creature had dealt with their bodies. Several weeks passed, and Gurwitz himself encountered this unknown creature. He was working with his partner in a magnetic pavilion. Suddenly, in the moonlight, the scientist noticed an approaching huge white bat. Having fired all of the bullets from his pistol, Gurwitz drove away the terrible animal. In the snow, he found clots of liquid that for some reason did not solidify in the 70-degree frost. Comparing what he saw with the stories of Russian polar explorers who also encountered similar monsters, Gurwitz suggested that in the depths of Antarctica live creatures that he called polar cryons. Their circulatory system is based on ammonia carbon dioxide liquid. The usual temperature for such creatures is -70 to 100 degrees Celsius. They live mainly in the area of the pole of cold. In the summer, they hide in deep cracks or hibernate, wrapping themselves in a heat-proof cocoon. But in winter, during the polar night, cryons lead an active life. They are afraid of heat and therefore avoid human settlements and people themselves while they are still alive. We are too hot for them. In a corpse, they are not interested in proteins or fats, which are foreign to the organism of polar cryons, but in bones, a source of minerals. White lions of Antarctica. On November 22, 2006, Argentine biologist Lieutenant Gomez Tor made an amazing discovery. He was working at the Almirante Brown Research Base located on San Martin Land. The Antarctic spring had arrived, but it was still cold, and the lieutenant, still recovering from a cold he had suffered in the winter, decided to take a break and sat down near a large boulder that protected him from the wind. And there, Gomez saw a lion. His first thought was that it was a hallucination, the result of a long and serious illness. The lion was larger than the African one and was staying close to the shore. It had a massive body, strong but short legs, and was covered in thick white fur. The pose of the white lion resembled that of a domestic cat which lies in wait for a mouse near a hole. Suddenly, the lion shuddered with its whole body and jumped into the water. Half a minute passed, and he emerged, holding a large seal in his mouth. Having climbed onto the shore, the lion placed the prey in front of him and looked around. After standing there, as if in thought, the animal picked up the prey and trotted away. The entire way back, Gomez Tor was thinking, should he tell his superiors about what he had seen or not? The authorities could consider him mentally ill and send him home. In the end, the lieutenant decided that it was his duty, as an officer, to report what had happened. He submitted a report on the incident to Captain Azapeke, and he did not doubt the veracity of his subordinate. It turned out that 2 more people saw the white creature, but due to the great distance, they did not recognize it as a lion. The captain ordered a search for the lion, including Gomez himself and 2 other base employees who had seen the strange animal. Filming equipment was installed at the site of Gomez's encounter with the lion, and part of a cow carcass was placed as bait. The equipment did not fail. On November 26th, an image of a pair of white predators was recorded, a lion and a lioness. The footage shows them devouring meat. Commenting on the news of the sensational discovery, the famous cryptozoologist Professor Ira Samuelson stated that it is not impossible that relict polar lions have survived on the coast of Antarctica. The cat family is the most perfect predator in nature. They are widespread everywhere, and, contrary to popular belief, the cold is not their enemy, and the cats are not afraid of water either. Water serpent. Monsters are also found in the seas adjacent to the ice continent. Sailors often see a sea serpent there, although they do not like to talk about such encounters. They are already considered inveterate liars. But back in August 1848, an event occurred that forced scientists to admit the possibility of the existence of a water monster. the British frigate Daedalus was rounding the Cape of Good Hope and encountered a giant sea monster here. An official report about this amazing creature, submitted by the ship's captain, McHugh, to the Admiralty, has been preserved. Sir, in compliance with your letter of this day, I report. Here follows a detailed description of the ship's course, and the names of the officers and the men who had seen the strange creature. The creature passed quickly, and so close to our leeward side that it could be seen with the naked eye. The snake was heading northwest and was moving at the rate of 12 to 15 miles an hour. Its diameter was 15 to 16 inches at the neck behind the head. The head was undoubtedly of the serpentine type, but during the 20 minutes that the animal was in the field of view of the telescope, we were unable to discern any other part of its body below the surface of the water. Its color was dark brown, with a yellow and white stripe in the front. It had no fins, but something resembling a horse's mane or a tuft of seaweed hung from its back. The sea serpent was seen by 7 of the Daedalus's crew. An amateur artist on board managed to draw it. The drawing of the sea serpent is often included in books about mysterious animals. The story of the sailors from the Daedalus was published in the Times, the most conservative newspaper in England. From there, it quickly migrated first to other British newspapers and then to the foreign press. The famous paleontologist Richard Owen tried to come out in print with a refutation, believing that the sailors from the Daedalus saw not a giant snake, but simply a huge seal, or, as it is often called, an elephant seal, an inhabitant of Antarctica. But Captain McHugh and the other crew members categorically objected. There could be no mistake. The sailors knew this type of seal very well and often encountered them while sailing. The creature that they saw was unlike any animal they knew, and the snake was at least 10 times longer than any seal. The sea serpent has also been encountered in other seas. In May 1843, Canadian officers came across one. We saw the head and neck of a serpent. The head was raised high above the water, and during the swim, it was thrown forward and then back so that it was alternately above and below the water. On January 10th, 1877, 5 excited sailors appeared at the Liverpool Magistrates' Court to give sworn evidence. We noticed 3 large sperm whales, and one of them was twice wrapped around by a huge snake. Its head and body, coiled in rings, were 30 feet long. Probably, the ice continent, which man reached almost yesterday by historical standards, will present many more surprises. After all, people have only just begun to explore it. For those wondering about Årsgång, I'm not the one who mentioned it, but I looked up a little, and here's what I found. Apparently, it's some Swedish thing. On Christmas Eve, or New Year's Eve, you go on a walk through the woods and cemetery to the local church or something like that. The folklore says that doing this will make it so you encounter all these various spirits or demons or whatever along the way, and you're not supposed to talk, laugh, or feel fear. If you do, you'll fail the Årsgång and possibly incur some sort of penalty. But if you can get through it without breaking the rules, you will learn secrets about the upcoming year, like who is going to die or whatever. There is one story apparently where a guy is seeing all these little spirits, and one of them is a pig pushing a cart, and it falls over and farts really loudly, and it makes him laugh, so the Årsgång ends without him getting to know anything. Another one, there is a pond, and the water in it turns to wine, and this guy drinks from it and says to his companion, "The water has turned into wine," and then some spirit in the water/wine then says, "And now your eyes are mine," and reaches up and strikes him blind. I think I'd like to go to one this year, to a little spot a little deeper inside a local cemetery. Shit, might as well toss my story in. Be me, living in an ash bale, house sitting for mother in Fairview. Her house is in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, halfway up a fucking mountain. Internet is spotty, phone is shit, even landlines. Have 2 cats in a house. Neighbor 1 has goats and chickens, and a fucking rooster that won't shut up at 6 a.m. until about 12 p.m. Neighbor 2 has an old dog. Anyway, about 2 months ago, house sitting. Have sawed off 12 gauge, and a new to me LC9s. Currently doing a complete cleaning and oiling of LC9S. Have gotten to the point where I can assemble it in about 10 minutes at a calm pace with the booklet in front of me. About 11 PM. Oiling the pistol in the downstairs living room. Euphemism? Hear tap at the door. I love oiling my pistol. Door wall is a 3-panel glass thing. Middle glass panel is the door. Look up. Assuming it's the neighbor who lost a chicken again. Fucking nope. White skin. Long fucking nails. Black eyes. Sharp teeth. Short strands of hair. Proportions all wrong for a human. We stare at each other for 5 seconds. It taps again on the window. Nope. Next thing I know, my LC9 is assembled. There is a round chambered, and the safety is off. Cat that was sleeping on the back of my chair suddenly hisses, launches towards the door. The cat is not too bright, but has always been a territorial motherfucker. Once had a standoff with a police shepherd. I duck to avoid having my scalp ripped off by the cat. By the time I look up, the thing is gone. Sit there with a pistol trained at the door for what feels like an eternity. I holster the pistol, grab the sawn-off, and load double odd-plated buckshot. Have flashlight, rig that to the shotgun barrel. Tactically exit house. Heart is pounding like a fucking jackhammer. The instant I open the door, the smell of blood hits me. I gag, and then I hear it. Driveway stone, not asphalt. Can hear it around the upper part of the driveway. Creep to the corner of the house. Peer around. It's there, at the kitchen window, trying to look inside. Fucking smell. About 20 feet away. 12 gauge, double-aught buck out of an 18.5 barrel with no choke. 20-inch spread at 30 feet, give or take. Brace shotgun. Attempt to get good bead on the fucking thing, with my heart still going faster than anything in the world. Small corner of brain notices that there is no animal noises that isn't from the thing. No dog, insects, etc. Breathe, squeeze. Close eyes at last second, cause lol, night. Boom. That shotgun is loud. Not as loud as the monster. Fucking roars like a lion, challenging a rival. Turns towards me. Nope, nope, nope. Drop shotgun, pull pistol. Starts loping towards me. Arms swinging by its sides. 7 + 1 rounds of JHP in the gun. 7 rounds of FMJ in the second mag. Run through all 15 rounds. Fucking thing isn't even slowed. Oh hell no. Grab shotgun. Sprint back down the small hill, into the lower living room. Slap every single light on the way. Grab shot shell box and 9mm box. Flip couch. Move it into the corner. Get behind it. Load shotgun. Reload pistol and spare mag, and never sleep. Spend the rest of the night behind that couch. 11 AM rolls around. Decide to check out the damage to the property. First stop, outside the downstairs door. Nothing on the stones, but there is something in the small garden plot. A footprint, but not a human footprint. Looks like a cross between an ape and a raptor. Next stop, corner of the house. Found, 1x shot shell. Fired. 17 times 9mm brass. Fired. Okay, cool. Let's walk towards the front door. By some miracle, none of the pellets hit the house. Not found. Any blood pools or splotches. Okay, so I must have missed in my panic. Let's check behind the house for obvious missing bullets. Behind the house is a big old stone wall. No mortar. Total of 3 times impact marks. 3 misses. Out of 17 9mm and however many double-aught buck pellets, only 3 confirmed misses. I was operating under the assumption it was one of the moonshiners that live around here, and I mistook it for something else. Speaking of which, why the fuck aren't they attacked all the time? Neighbor strolls in around 2 PM. Asked me if I heard anything around 12 last night. Yeah, it was just a bear who got too nosy. Really? Where's the body? I missed. Anon, it wasn't no bear, was it? And it wasn't no human neither, right? How'd you know? Lucky guess. You will find a package waiting for you before sundown tonight on your doorstep. I suggest you use it. Dragon dildos incoming. Sundown rolls around. Wooden box on doorstep. Open it up. Strange mixture. White ash mixed with salt. Coat every single bullet I had that night. I had a box of about 300 or so loose 9mm rounds. Slept in my bed for the rest of the week with the shades drawn, doors locked and barricaded, pistol under my pillow, and shotgun next to me. Neighbors never mentioned it again to me or my mother. Not really creepy, but weird. Here is a little backstory. When I was in university, I was roommates with this guy that had Asperger's. He was a really nice guy, but socially inept and very solitary. I'm an Aussie, and he was a Chinese exchange student, always kept to himself, and was very clean and particular, which is great because I'm more of a quiet introvert myself. He was 22 and just finishing up a bachelor's of anatomy and cell biology. Roommate goes to class, and I have the day off. Notice he did not lock the door to his room. Never been in there before. No, it's a breach of privacy and totally not cool, but curiosity gets the better of me. No, he has 2 terrariums with hermit crabs and a lizard. I've only seen when he cleans them. Walk in. All kinds of weird shit all over the room. Take a peek at the terrariums. There is a third. Small heated glass container holding something that looks like a big white barnacle with a single black eye and tiny appendages. Binders of notes on his desk. Quickly peek over them. Tons of pictures of other barnacle-looking creatures, some in tanks and some cut open. Last one in binder is Howard. Picture of one in the tank. List of ingredients and receipts from medical research supply stores inside. About 10 different ingredients was apparently put into it. What caught my interest was the dollar amounts. $600 or something for mesenchymal stem cells is the only one I remember. Apparently, he put a concoction inside of a live, unfertilized platypus egg, along with his own sperm, and grew this thing. Take a picture of it. It moves when the flash goes off. Don't mention it for weeks, and soon, my roommate has graduated and is moving on to a research job back in China. Mention Howard to him. He gets angry about me entering his room without permission. Says he had types of coral he was growing for the terrariums. Makes me delete the picture, or he will be keeping the last 2 months' rent. Apologize. Never hear from him again. Anyway, it was on my mind for a while, and I did some research, and it became clear he was making a really sophisticated homunculus. I was able to find different pictures, and even videos of ones on the internet, but none as complex looking as the one I saw that day. Honestly, it was so big and sprawled out looking. I thought it was some kind of petri dish mold he had created, but I thought the eye was really odd. I summed up the movement to my eyes playing a trick on me, or me dumping something. Wish I knew more about it. I wonder if he is still growing them, and if Howard is still alive. People say that I went astral accidentally, but I don't know. 11-year-old me at Sunday night in the middle of winter. Drawing nature and birds and shit, having fun while laying on the floor. Drawing a raven sitting on the branch. Start to feel a little bit funny, like tingly, as if I was electrocuted by small amounts all over my body. Huh, what's going on? Start to see simple shapes of different colors flash before my eye, basically obscuring 30% of my vision. Think about how cool this is. Maybe I am getting superpowers. Stop hearing anything other than some kind of humming noise, and it gets louder. Look at my hands. They are a little bit wavy, and my fingers look like long, triangular prisms. Tried to get up and ask my mom what the fuck, but I feel like my whole body is partially paralyzed. It is hard to navigate. Light of the lamp and shadows are all like blended in, and it is hard to navigate. Barely make it to living room where mom is watching TV, but I am still calm. Still not in a field of view of my mom. Tried to say something. Can't talk. Like, if I had a huge metal ball is in my throat. You know the feeling, like when you want to say something while crying. Similar. Come closer to mom. She does not react in any way. Picture in TV is static. In fact, it seems like everything except for me is static. My sight catches some movement behind my window. Glimpse at it. There is an egg-shaped creature, covered in black fur, and long black, shaped like thin spider-legs, quills, with short fangs and blue fire eyes. It quickly vanishes, and it felt like it appeared behind me. because I felt its hot breath behind me. Fall unconscious. Wake up in the morning in my bed. Mom says that I just got to bed earlier than usual, and nothing strange happened besides that. She thinks it was a dream. I am not sure. Sharing my encounter with A's again. It might not sound that creepy, but it was fucking terrifying. Summer of 2011. Road tripping through the south with 2 friends. Camped by the side of a dirt road one evening in southern New Mexico. We'd been to Roswell a few days earlier, so we were talking shit about A's. Suddenly, we all see 3 lights in the sky. They seemed huge and extremely bright. They moved really fast in circles. Be like, what the fuck, it's the A's, and take pic related. One friend totally freaks out, saying we were dosed with LSD from the bushes or some shit. Other friend is like, it's just lightning, guys. Obviously not lightning. Suddenly, there's an extremely bright flash of orange and a booming noise. Freak out like, fuck, the A's are shooting at us with energy weapons. We get in the car. Lightning guy starts driving. He still does not buy that it is aliens. Me and other friend yelling at him, calling him a dumbass and whatever. Stop after some time, and lights are nowhere to be seen anymore. I don't remember the exact place since we drove around a lot, but there were hills and not many trees. If anyone recognizes the landscape IMPIC related, please let us all know. And I know it's an anticlimactic story. We weren't abducted or anything. Used to live in a house from 2005 to 2019 that was basically haunted. The house was made up of 3 floors, each one a separate apartment. While first floor would say they hear things sometimes, it was by and large the second and third floor apartments where activity was noticeable. Living on third floor would hear an unintelligible conversation down on the porch, almost always the same thing. 2 male voices would start normally, before it erupts into a full argument that peaks and then stops. The sound of a car pulling into the driveway and never pulling out or anyone getting out. The bathroom seemed to be where you could hear voices conversing in the closet beside the sink. 3-year-old cousin would talk to an imaginary girl named Cindy, whom she would eventually become terrified of because of bad things Cindy wanted to do to her. Second floor seemed to be where activity peaked, as the landlord really struggled to rent that one out for longer than 7 to 8 months at a time, with some exceptions. Ironically enough, when the second floor apartment was completely vacant, the activity died down considerably. I used to have a neighbor down there named Jed, who, towards the end of his tenancy, slept outside the place because he did not like anything about the apartment. He never elaborated, just said the place had too much creepy stuff for his liking. There was also a family who lived there for a while because they had a Section 8 voucher the landlord readily accepted. The mother told my mom about things that happened down there. Notably, how some nights a shadowy man would come into her son's room and told them vile things, like how their parents will all kill each other. I once experienced a voice on a baby monitor when helping my mom babysit her neighbor's youngest kids. The voice sounded like the Wicked Witch after a meth binge and smoking 10 packs of cigarettes a day for 50 years saying, "You little bitch, I'll kill you," towards the infant daughter.